Okay.
Yeah, fun stuff. Yeah.
I'm here with Mr. David Lisch. We just finished up a knife class. Super awesome. Had a great time. I learned a lot. And we're going to talk about some of the secrets to becoming a lifelong artist blacksmith and get some tips and tricks.
Oh boy, you're going to spring that on me, huh? Okay.
We're going to spring that on you.
Okay.
So we just finished up these knives.
It was wonderful working with you, man. It's great having you in the shop, and
Likewise.
It's what I love doing. You know, just teaching and
Likewise.
sharing, and you know, making my knives and helping people make theirs, making the best they can. So it was great having you.
Yeah, man, it's great to be here. I'm excited to come back and do it again. I got a little gift for you. I know you're into fishing. And I think I brought what I think is the perfect thing to fry up your fish.
Really,
fillet,
dude,
so.
that is. Wow, I love the handle.
Yeah, here, I'll pull that out for you.
Did I get that too?
Oh, yeah. That's yours too. Yeah, open that.
All
open
right,
that
look
boy
at
up,
that.
check it out. So that's our
my
11-inch carbon steel skillet.
Dude, it's beautiful. When I first saw the handle, I thought it was bronze.
Yeah, it's stainless.
Stainless. Is that
Stainless.
what it is?
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I've watched you make them on your Instagram and do the tricks. I'm honored to have one, dude.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. I can't hardly wait to use it.
Yeah, man. And then this is the spatula.
Wow,
So
that's beautiful. It's
yep.
so light.
Yeah.
What's that made out of?
Grade 5 titanium.
Really?
Yeah. So
The whole thing is so light. Is this titanium or
that's stainless.
stainless again?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love that blacksmithing you did on the handle.
Thank you.
Man, I can hardly wait to put
yeah,
this to
that-
work.
that
I will
titanium,
cook a
it's-
trout in this very soon.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Springy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I just love how light it is.
Yeah.
It feels awesome. Andrea's going to be thrilled
Good.
when she sees
Good.
this. She don't know nothing about this. Wow.
So I got a little introduction just for those of you who don't know David Lisch already. And I'm not gonna lie, I asked AI to write a bio for you. So you're gonna have to tell me if anything's off. You just correct me afterwards. I think
okay.
it's probably pretty dead on. So David Lisch is a renowned master bladesmith from Yale, Washington, recognized for his innovative work in bladesmithing, particularly with Damascus steel. His journey in metalwork spans over 30 years, during which he transitioned from a fabricator and blacksmith to an award-winning knife maker. Lisch achieved his Master Smith rating from the American Bladesmith Society in 2015, becoming the 6th Master Smith in Washington State. Originally running a successful blacksmith business in Seattle, David now teaches at the Oak Grove Forging Facility in Yelm, Washington, which is where we are now. His expertise includes unique guard designs and the intricate patterns of Damascus steel, which are showcased in his artful knives. His work has not only been functional, but also a celebration of art, with his creations often featuring in exhibitions and sold at high prices, like his notable piece of a frog with a dagger, which fetched $10,000. Is that true?
That's true. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Lisch's involvement in the blacksmith community extends to teaching and demonstrating at events like the CBA Spring Conference, where he shares techniques ranging from beginner knife making to advanced forging methods. He has also contributed to the education of future blacksmiths through his school, like myself, where he teaches alongside his wife, Andrea, who is also a skilled blacksmith. His dedication to the craft, combined with his artistic approach to blacksmithing, has made him a respected figure in both the functional and artistic realms of bladesmithing. His personal website, davidlisch.com, where you can check out his awesome work, and his association with the American Bladesmith Society highlight his ongoing contributions to the field.
Wow, how do they know me so well?
AI, they
Dude,
know
that's
where you
scary,
live.
bro.
It's kind of scary,
That's
right?
kind of scary because they nailed it.
Yeah, well,
they nailed it. I mean,
think,
all that's true. Yes, that
Okay.
is kind of who I am.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, just Googled AI Dave Lisch.
Yeah, they nailed
That's
it.
cool.
Well, I think you got enough profiles on eating tools and other places in your website, and I think what AI does is it just grabs all that, compiles it, and spits it out in the best, it kind of figures out what.
In a format. Well, that pretty much summed it up.
Cool.
That I started as a fabricator.
Yep.
I've been fabricating since I was 15 years old.
Yep.
Which, scary enough, is 50 years now.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that tells you
Wow.
anything. And yeah, I've just moved on from fabricating and working for a paycheck most of my life on Friday up to, starting my own business and started that fabricating. And through that, I found blacksmithing. And from blacksmithing, I kind of started my own business and really just started from the ground up.
Yeah, it sounds
Had a shop in Seattle near the Ballard Locks for probably about 8 to 10 years.
Yep.
And then I moved from that shop to a shop over underneath the Alaska Way Viaduct, just by the West Seattle Bridge. They called it the Big Building. There for 15 years, and really that helped me out a lot. And that's when I found knife making. It was in that building when I kind of discovered it, or just before I went there. But that's where it really took off. And I started my school there. And goes on from there. And I finally, knife making got me here, because I couldn't be here without the ability to sell knives from here. Because in Seattle, I was tied to Seattle, but when I was doing my blacksmithing business, because that's where the business was. I textured metal for people. I made parts for other blacksmiths. I did custom blacksmithing for people's homes, railings, gates, all that stuff. And I really enjoyed it while I did it. But
you had the market for the ornamental ironwork in Seattle. But when you moved out here, you really had to like hone in on the knives.
I was already honed in on the knives before I moved out here. I don't think I had the courage to do it. Because the knives kind of took over, and slowly I started dropping clients and not taking the fabricating, blacksmithing work as much. In fact, there was one company I was working for when I moved out here, which I thought I would keep working for, but then I moved out here and it's so peaceful and quiet. And that was texturing big plates. And, I mean, you'd be running the hammer like all day long, and it was annoying. And my neighbors are very gracious about putting up with the sound from my hammer just from making Damascus. And I don't want to push it beyond that. Plus, making the knives is more enjoyable. And I really enjoy making my living making the knives and teaching. That is, because I am out here in the middle of nowhere, and so it's almost like when I'm teaching like a one-on-one class with you, it's like making a knife with a friend.
You're a great teacher, and that's exactly how it felt for me. It felt like just hanging out with a friend. And I think my biggest takeaway from this class, beyond just the little tips and tricks and figuring out how to be more efficient as a knife maker, is how every single step of the process you have specific tooling and multiple tooling. I mean, I'm talking, he's got a separate grinding room just for wood out towards the front for the wood handle parts, another grinding room with a special dedicated machine just for touching up the bolsters. And I mean, like literally, it just goes on and on and on. There is an entire room back there for the finish work. He's got a whole area just for gluing up handles and a whole area for the etching process. And I mean, it just goes on and on and on.
It's pretty knife oriented.
It's all so knife oriented, and it really just opened my eyes to be like, yes, if you want to be efficient, you got to have the right tools, and you really got to have it all laid out in such a way where there's just this real clear workflow, smooth flowing path.
And for the knife making, really, the steps in knife making can hold you back and make your work take longer. So just to know which steps come in which order, the whole overall flow of the process makes the process go smoother.
So much
like
smoother.
You can go backwards if you do one before the other. Everything has to happen in sequence, in the proper sequence and order for the process to go smoothly. Because what we pulled off in 3 days, dude. I mean, come on. We made a billet of mosaic Damascus. We made a mosaic Damascus chef knife. That's why we call it the trading Star Trader Crossroads, because I gave you the piece to start forging after we forged the billet. Now, all that has to happen, chink, 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 to get it done in this time frame.
And even with that time frame, even though 3 days from forging the billet to finished knife, and that is a miracle. And we were working long days, so 10 hours every day, basically.
I don't know if it was 10, but it was close.
It was close. It was close.
Yeah, most days 8 to 6:30 or 7.
And that's 30 years of experience and super efficiency and all the right tooling dedicated without having to switch too many platens and things like that. He's literally got grinders set up.
Well, and at the end, for each day, I have a goal that has to happen at that day. So we don't quit till that goal is met. And I mean, that kind of gave me
you know, it made me feel a little better. I mean, I still take like 4 times as long as that took to make one knife, but it's mostly because I'm just super cautious and careful, and I'm still just learning.
Well, hopefully that's going to go smoother now.
Oh,
with
it's going to go
some of the new tricks
so
and
much
stuff.
smoother.
Yeah.
But it still was an eye-opener that even someone with your skill level and your efficiency, it still takes an entire 3 days and then some to make one knife. And that just kind of goes to show like why these knives.
Well, they are works of art.
They're works of art.
They're works of art. From the steel down to the execution of the heat treating to everything about it is an art form, really. The way I see it. I know people will argue that like that's not art. I have one friend that tells me that if it has a function, it's not art. And I'm sorry, I can't buy that. I can't buy that. No. Art can be functional. It has to be for me. Otherwise, I'm just a knife maker.
Totally.
And I really would prefer to consider myself an artist. I really would. I sleep better at night.
Function is important. It's in my work too. It's kind of you know, a similar kind of thing where it's like it has to function and look good at the same time.
Exactly. It's beauty and function, and that's a very artful skillet and spatula, dude, which I'm going to cherish for a long time, man. I'm going to give them a good home.
That's our brand new design on the spatula.
Is it?
You're going to like that,
cool.
man. It's just so
Is that a
thin.
tumbled finish?
Yep, tumbled finish.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, man.
All right, so I got a few questions.
All right.
And these questions I actually did come up with myself.
I
didn't have AI do it.
generate that? Okay.
No AI generated
well,
questions.
I'm ready then. I'm ready.
So, okay. So, what is the driving force behind your inspiration, and why are knives now your main focus?
Okay, so the driving force, obviously, behind what I do, my inspiration just comes from my creative thinking, right? Because I'm a creative thinker.
Right.
But the driving force is wanting to make a living and have a nice life and doing something that I love doing.
Okay.
So that's what motivates me to continually think and innovate and create. And it's wanting to have a nice life where, because I worked and punched the clock for so many years, and I consider myself blessed now that I'm my own boss in my own space, creating what I want to create and enjoying it. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's the driving force that makes me want to go and keep going and keep innovating and working. And
and I think we already kind of went over like why the knives are the main focus, just
because I can be out here, and I love doing it, and I can live in the country, 3 minutes from a river that way, 6 minutes from a lake that way, and still make a living where I couldn't do that just with the fabricating and blacksmithing.
And
the knife gives me a freedom. You can live where you want.
You can ship them all around. And
So I think that kind of covers it. I mean, I still like doing the blacksmithing artwork, and I'm trying to integrate that into my knife making as much as possible. That's why the funky, crazy stands and stuff like that. The frog with the dagger in the mouth, that's a blacksmithing knife.
So cool. I love seeing how you blend the two worlds together with the knife making and the artistic blacksmithing.
To me, that's the best, right?
True art.
That's the creme de la creme, right? If you can make the knife and add in the cool blacksmithing techniques that you've learned.
So cool.
Use all your skills.
So cool.
Thank you.
All right. What project are you most proud of that you've done in your entire career?
Oh gosh, that's a hard one.
Right.
Because I've done so much stuff I forgot about because I've been creating for so long, the blacksmithing. The project I'm most proud of, man, that is a tough one.
Or just one that comes up, one that I know that is a tough question because this guy literally has got like just so many projects under his belt that are insanely awesome.
All right, well, I made a dagger one time for my Master Smith test that I was going to take in 2013.
Yep.
And it was, you go in, you're a hot young gun, you got all this, you're going to show everybody how good you are.
I'll take
right?
that.
Take that. Yeah. You're going to show everybody. So I made this dagger. I tried to make this dagger for my Master Smith test. It was really going to make sure everybody knew just how good I was, right? And that was a mistake. You really just want to go in and make the nice work.
Right.
Well, I got so frustrated, literally in tears, just knowing that it wasn't even enough. It wasn't symmetrical enough. It wasn't going to pass the test.
Right.
And so I shelved it. I didn't go in 2013.
Okay. Yep.
And in 2015, I pulled back on the dagger. I still made a beautiful dagger. Okay. It's still beautiful. but I pulled it back. It was an Art Deco style, you know, like almost like clamshells, but then an Art Deco for the guard, and beautiful Damascus, gold wire, all the recommendations. And I passed my Master Smith in 2015. That same year, I was asked to go to the Jerry Fisk show. I was invited, and I went back to that dagger. Okay, so the dagger had a guard that came up and went like this, and the mid spacer and the bottom guard that came out at the time like straight like this, and I took those and I bent them down to create rings. I pierced the guard and brought them up through there and curled them over this way and curled them over that way, and then I made this lady sculpture that's reaching out and holding it. She had beautiful, she was just gorgeous. You know, everybody knows I like to do the lady sculptures, you know, with the beautiful figures. And I tell you what, man, that thing was...
That was it.
It was it, dude. It was it. I mean, it was just so cool that I pulled it off and brought it back from such disappointment to be something that was so beautiful. And
that's a cool story.
And really good collector of mine bought the piece.
Neat.
And it was really fun. So for me to overcome that and you know, realize that I tried to do too much, and you don't need to be going in there trying to impress the judges, because you're not going to do it. You just make the beautiful knives at the best you can. Make the best set you can and present them, rather than try to show off. So it was a life lesson for me.
Sounds like a great lesson.
Thank
and
you.
Just a project to be super proud of.
I'm super proud of that project.
That's cool. How do you come up with new ideas for Damascus?
Well, a lot of it is by experimenting.
Right.
And I'll tell you, for me, when my Damascus really started getting interesting was I quit trying to make it one billet at a time.
Okay.
I think this is going to open some eyes to some of your viewers that know me or watching. But when I make Damascus, now my best stuff comes from starting 4 or 5 billets at a time.
Okay.
And then I'll go in sometimes, and as I'm always looking at them, I'll cut them and I'll get them. I'll use sizing blocks and get them to the same size. And I'll start mixing matching billets and putting them together. And that brings me to some really interesting stuff that's not even duplicatable, you know. But the interest level in it and the intricacies and because when you look at a piece of Damascus, like a lot of guys will tell you, oh, I can reverse engineer any Damascus billet. Well, I'm damned if you're going to reverse engineer a billet that's made out of 2 or 3 different billets stuck together, right? Committing, and unfortunately, that was a good one. I never kept track of how I did it, because it was just having fun for me and experimenting and trying different things and different ways of putting it together. And I kind of wish I would have. You know, I really do, but I never have, and I still don't. Kind of old and set in my ways now at this point. I had to make Damascus, and I tried different stuff. And
you're saying you wish that you would have maybe taken some more notes.
When
definitely. People come to you, 15 years later and ask you for this pattern, that you actually can reproduce it again.
That would be nice. A lot of times that would have helped me out. Because then I'm going, how the heck did I make that? And I just don't know. So
I mean, I'm just blown away by your ability to always continue to learn something new and not be stuck in your ways, and just keep innovating and keep trying out different patterns. I mean, it's really inspiring.
One of the things that keeps me motivated about making knives is the fact there's so much that can be done that hasn't been done. You know, there's so many different ways that you can make a knife, and so many different construction techniques you can use. And the minute you think you've seen it all or can do it all, you know, you're kind of done. You have to be able to be open. I have regrets, you know. I wish I would have spent some time and learned how to engrave. But at this point, you know, that takes a whole lot of time, you know. I mean, I'm having a hard time just goading myself into starting to make sheaths. I bought all the stuff.
I saw your leatherwork and stuff.
But I've only made 2 or 3 sheaths, and sheaths are hard to make. I know I could get good at it if I applied myself. But taking that time out of what everything else I'm doing, I mean, that has been my downfall. Has been, in fact, it wasn't until I soloed in on blacksmithing, because when I started blacksmithing, I was carving stone. I was making musical instruments. I was blacksmithing. I was spread out all over the place, right? And sometimes it's better.
It's better just to focus
in on one and really get good at it. And now I'm starting to, you know, I still play around with stone now. I was going to be a stone carver. Oh, I love carving stone, right? But I had to give that up. And I still admire it, and I still like to tinker, but the reality of being a stone carver is out the window. But I am a blacksmith and a bladesmith because that's what I focused on. You know, that's where I put my energy.
I think us creative folks, we have the tendency to do that. I know I do, like trying to learn everything and think I can do everything. And then you come to the realization where you're like, well, I kind of can do everything, but not very well. And it's time to really pick a few of those things and focus on them.
Yeah.
You know, and I see that in your work, that you've really taken that focus just to a whole nother level. It's really, really inspiring.
Well,
and cool
thank you.
To see,
Thank
you. Know?
Well, and right now I want to reinvent the Mountain Man folders, my newest thing I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Because one, I'm really excited about them, and I have new ideas for them. And it's never really been explored the way I'm getting ready to explore it, and I'm exploring it, you know, and coming up with new ways to do it. And so that keeps me excited. Also, I'm trying to get a little smaller with the pieces of steel and the pieces, you know what I mean? It's like as I get older, I just, you know, see myself making really cool, intricate little folders with all these little gadgets and gizmos.
And smaller.
Yeah.
Neat. Okay. Yeah. So did you have a mentor, and whose work has influenced yours the most?
I did have a mentor. In the beginning, in my knife career, I was fortunate enough to meet a guy named Tom Ferry, who is one of the most innovative and best Damascus makers ever to live. In fact, he totally took the tiling method to the next level with tiling and sort of introduced it to the knife world. He was a great mentor for my knife making, but I've also had mentors like Mike Fanino, Tim Hancock I worked with, Mike Quisenberry. A lot of these people have influenced my work and helped me make my work better. You know, so it's great. There's too many names to mention. You know, like I went to a hammer one time and told everybody I was new at this, and that I wanted to learn how to grind knives, and I had some knives that needed to be ground with me. And I said, when the hammering gets started, I'm going to be at this grinder over here if anybody wants to help. And I'll be darned, the Master Smiths were standing in line to show me what they knew. Yeah, and they all stepped up one time and showed me how they did it, and I took everything back home and came up with my own way of doing it, you know. And that was eye-opener for me. You know, everybody was so willing to help, and I've been willing to help, you know. I put a lot of information out there just to help people out, you know.
You sure do.
When people reach out to me, I always take the time to answer them, you know.
Which, by the way, if you want to see some free classes of David's, go on his Instagram. Go to the highlights, and he's got a whole bunch of really cool
free classes. Everything from copper cuffs to how to build your own forge to you know how to make a fire ant, I believe. There's all kinds of fun stuff on there. That's just me giving out information because what's going to happen to it if I don't share some of that stuff? A lot of it's stuff I came up with. You know.
Super innovative stuff. The way he builds his forges, the most fuel efficient forges out there. They're dead simple. He's got a class on there to show you how to. Walk you through all the steps.
Right up to the part of putting the liner in, which is the most important part, by the way.
Which, by the way, thanks for watching, you guys. If you want to see more interviews like this, I have a favor to ask of you. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Like this video. It'll help us a ton. I really appreciate it.
And thanks for listening, everybody. It's been a pleasure to be on Ryan's YouTube.
Yep, YouTube.
YouTube, okay, cool.
This is going on the YouTube. And we'll probably cut it up and turn it into some shorts and stuff,
Sure,
too.
you got to send me a short I can use.
All right, a couple more questions. Okay, let's see. So what has been the most challenging project as far as like, you know, something that is just like, you know, maybe was just super hard and maybe you even gave up on it, or you've been trying to perfect it and still haven't gotten it, or just what's been the most challenging thing you've been
Something that I accomplished.
That
I got done or I didn't get done. Well,
either or.
Yeah, gosh, that is very tricky. The most challenging project, because a lot of projects are very, very challenging. That's a hard one for me because I mean, like
they're all challenging.
Yeah, that's it. Like I know people that it seems to me like everything they do comes natural to them, and I kind of wish that was like that for me. Not I have to fight and fail. If I was going to write a book, I swear my title of my book would be "The Courage to Fail." Because I have the courage to fail. I will try stuff that I know isn't going to make it. I don't know if it's going to make it or not, and I'll throw time, money, and all resources at trying something with the fact that if I fail, I'm going to be okay.
Okay.
Yeah. If it fails, if it doesn't work, I'm going to be all right.
Right.
And through that, I've come up with some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I've got joyful failures.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could go on and on about it. But, you know, just the whole putting yourself out there on the internet, I would say, has been my biggest challenge.
Okay, putting yourself out there.
Putting myself out there, and I've had to fight to do that. And I'm a gregarious person, you know what I mean?
Right.
One-on-one like this, I'm great. But the whole mindset and the challenges of presenting yourself as somebody and, you know, worrying about being judged by people, you know, for me, that's kind of a challenge. And I'm trying to overcome it. And I know I do a lot of stupid, crazy stuff, and I probably look like I'm fearless to some people, but quite frankly, it's very difficult for me to put myself out there on the internet. You know, I wish I had like, you know, all this stuff about not just putting yourself out, but running your YouTube page, you know, doing the content, creating content is very challenging.
Super important
and
these
sometimes you hit good, sometimes you don't, you know, and then not taking it personal, you know, when people don't give you a heart, you know, you can't like take that to heart. And so learning about that, and I've started reading some philosophy books, and I'll be darned if it's not helping me a little bit with that mental challenge I have of putting myself out there and getting over it and not taking it personal.
That's a great answer, and I agree. It's tough, you know, and kind of like that Oliver Anthony quote in one of his songs, you know, it's like, how do you make it as an old soul in the new world? You know?
Gosh,
it's like
I got to go find that song.
we are in the new world, right? You know, and I see you as an old soul. So
well, thank you. But yeah, so the like, it was forever before I could download a picture on Instagram.
Right.
Like our whole phone thing is challenging to me. That's a challenge.
Well, you're doing a great job. I mean, a lot of guys.
Well, I've learned. I've taught myself.
Yeah, a lot of your generation just doesn't even bother because it's just like.
I got a lot of friends that don't even bother.
Right.
Like, they don't even know. They don't see my Instagram because they ain't got one.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job, man. Keep it
well,
up.
It's been good for me
Keep it
because
up.
people see my Instagram and sometimes they say, "Hey, can you make me this or buy this?" You know, I got a guy I never met before wants to buy a couple of stag handle push daggers right now, and that excited me because I'm going to reinvent the stag handle push dagger. You know, just approach it with my thinking and see if I can't come up with something he's going to love. And
that's cool. I can't wait to see it.
Well, you will see it soon. Trust me.
So we went over this a little bit, and this is just in regards to trade secrets.
Okay.
And I know blacksmithing, you know, has a long history. It's the oldest craft on earth. And in the early days, the only way to learn the trade was via an apprenticeship and a long, slow, grueling,
that's
you know,
how it was, right?
Just hard work. Then there's no way to skip through that.
No way.
And then even those master smiths would keep those secrets
of
the trades.
You have to earn them.
Secret. You have to earn them.
You have to earn
know?
them,
And I mean,
and build trust.
And build trust, you know. And it's not okay to just give it away for free, to share it. And especially in our world with the social media, I think it's gotten even more, you know, the lines have been a little unclear, blurred, and just it's easier to just share. And we, you know, there's so much information out there.
I have students that come in that can do stuff you wouldn't believe they could do. They've never been in a shop before. From watching videos on YouTube, Instagram, and there's so much teaching going on. And some of them are quite good. Never swung a hammer before, but they believe they can do it, and that's half the battle, right? And then they start doing it, and you're like, hey, you know, you need to hold it like this. You need to tilt it like that. You need to do this and that. You're holding it in the wrong place. The next thing you know, off to the moon, right? They just needed that opportunity because their head's already filled and they've learned so much from watching the videos. I see that quite often. I have a couple really good stories of that, but I won't go into that. But some great students that, you know, learned on Instagram but never picked up a hammer. You know, got in here for a class.
You can learn a lot that way, you know, and I think it's really bringing the craft to a new place, you know. And some of the times when I'm selling my work, and you know, you have that old saying that I hear people say, and they're like, "Oh, you're a blacksmith. Isn't that a dying trade?" And that always like gets to me, and I'm like, "Dying trade? Like, where have you been? Like, we're growing,
this is
we're
going
innovating
by
like,
leaps and bounds.
Leaps and bounds. Like, there's new stuff being created by thanks to guys like you who are pushing the boundaries."
And so now to answer your question, yes, I give away as much stuff as I can. But there is this thing where sometimes you'll come up with something and it's actually, because I'm trying to make a living, man. I mean, you know what I mean? I ain't rich. I got to pay bills at the end of the month. You know, I'm trying to make a living, and sometimes you will come up with something.
Right.
And if you share it, it's the secret is so easy to duplicate or whatever that maybe you hold back on some of that for a little while you establish yourself as the founder of that technique, you know,
like
and not just give it away.
Like your etching process, which you know, thankfully he taught to me, and I'm gonna hold that secret.
You
and,
can,
you know, he told me that is one of the things that he wants to keep as his own trade secret, unless you want to come take a class from him.
And I show everybody that takes a class. So with that said, it's out there.
Right.
And everybody shares it. It's fine, right? But I'm not going to share it.
Right.
If they want to share it, that's up to them.
Right.
You know, and there's a couple of things I have that I just feel like, you know what? I don't really need to give that away.
Right.
And I know other Smiths like that too.
Yep.
But gosh, I give away so much.
Right.
You know? And I try to teach so much, and I encourage everybody to learn. But I think it's okay to actually hold back a couple of things, even in this day and age when all the information is out there.
It's important.
You know, and I'm doing it as a financial thing.
Right.
Because if I give away this new thing I came up with, everybody's doing it, and now mine is just another one.
There's a lot of competition out there.
A lot of competition out there, and I think we all have to start thinking like that a little bit. And you know,
and one of those real secrets that you got up your sleeve that you're holding to yourself is your folding mechanism, right? Like that's just something that just can't be repeated. And
I ain't giving it away right now.
I ain't
giving that away right now, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
very cool.
Yeah, it takes time to develop some of this stuff, and one day I'll maybe feel like sharing it. But right now I don't.
Right.
Right. And that's a financial thing.
Right.
Really, that's what it is. And nobody can hold that against me because we're all trying to, you know, have a little bit of financial stability.
Totally.
Yeah.
So on that same train of thought, is there a code of conduct for copying work styles from other makers? Like, when is it okay? Some things have already just kind of universally been invented, and it's like everyone's doing it, but at what point is it like, if you're just directly copying someone's work, is there some kind of code of conduct as an experienced blacksmith?
I personally think there is.
Yeah.
I personally think there is. And I think that it's okay if you're inspired by somebody's work to make one.
Right.
I think the borderline where you're crossing it is if you take somebody's idea that they've worked hard to create and take it as your own and start manufacturing and selling that product, because you're actually hurting that person. Right. So the best thing, and it's so hard because I feel like I'm kind of blessed because I have come up with so many different things, and some of them have been copied. I try not to let it bother me. When somebody copies my designs in my, like my D guards, for instance, you know, I've come up with a whole bunch of innovative guard designs, and I don't mind when people copy those. You know, I just don't, because I'm always on to the next thing. Right. And that actually, it motivates me to come up with the next thing. And there's a lot of people out there that are so polite that they send me a message, hey, I saw your knife handle design and I really want to make one of those. And I'm like, please do. Please do. And tag me when you post it. You know, some of them are just so polite, and some of them just do it, and some of them do it once. You're really not going to make a big name for yourself copying somebody else's design.
People are going to know that.
The best thing is to try and come up with your own idea, take inspiration from people's work, and then apply that to your work, apply that to your design, and you see a lot of that going on. You know, all the upswept clips, all the different, you know, there's an influence from all different makers. I'm not going to name names, but there's a few makers out there that have influenced a whole bunch of people with their designs, their style of knife making, and they're all right with it, really. I mean, because they make theirs, and they need to be motivated to move forward from, you know, from the knife trap.
We're all pushing the craft forward. But we should all work as hard as we can to put our own artistic flair and design into it as much as we can, even though it's been done over and over and over for thousands.
And you can put your own flair, your own twist, your own, you know, inspiration into the pieces, and that makes you feel better about the piece. That, you know, and it makes the buyer feel better about the piece, because like you said, everybody knows what's going on, especially if they're paying attention. But most of all, and most importantly, you don't want to hurt the inventor of the piece. You don't want to steal from that person by taking their
bottom
work.
line.
That's right. If it's affecting their bottom line, probably you should, you know, come up with your own thing, and that's just how I feel about it. And it's okay for those that are out there, because not everybody has the ability to create. And so those, you know, if you can't create, you assimilate or imitate. You know, and that's okay. You know what I mean? But try to do it in moderation, and try to do it in a way that you're respectful to the creator of that design, you know. And I see a lot of the respect out there, and a lot of people respecting the designs and the intellectual work of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good when you see the respect, and it's not the end of the world that people do copy stuff. It's just what happens. You know, people will downright blatantly take pictures off your website. That's why I don't post pictures. You know that all my stuff is mainly reels, videos, because people were taking my knives and putting it on their thing and trying to sell that knife.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be like, dude, how you gonna sell my knife if you don't even have it?
Right.
Oh, I just used a picture. If they like, I make one like that.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's really, you're gonna make one like that, and so that's kind of frustrating. Yeah. And I hate to see that.
Yeah, that's a real problem, especially like with just businesses being bombarded and taken over, and they literally will take your photos, and they'll make a fake website, and then they'll try to sell your products.
It happens
and
they'll
send some knockoff version of it. And
like your picture.
It happened to.
That's blatant thievery. There.
Thievery. Yeah,
that's blatant thievery.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of those people are outside of the country, and they're outside of our law, and there's nothing you can do about it. Legally,
nothing you can do about it legally.
You know?
No, you just have to. You almost feel sorry for that person.
Right. Yeah.
Because, and I try to support a lot of businesses outside the country, even at the risk of getting stuff shipped here, because in their country, that's a lot of money.
Right.
You buy $300 off of supplies off some guy from another country, where $300 is a lot of money, you've actually helped them out a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I try to do that.
Yeah. That's cool.
I do, especially if they've got a product that I can then use.
Right.
And a lot of times you're getting a better price on that product than you could get here.
Yep.
Yeah, so that goes around. But I do like to see people trying to make an honest living.
Totally.
That's what I want to see. I want to see people trying to make an honest living.
Yep.
Whether it be with their hands or whatever it is.
Work hard.
Work hard.
Keep,
be honest about it.
So last question. What advice would you give to someone wanting to start a career in blacksmithing today?
Today, there's a few things. Currently. Okay, first of all, find somebody near you that's blacksmithing and go in and offer to help them out.
Okay.
Any way you can.
Yep.
If they offer you money, don't ever count it or look at it. Just put it in your pocket, because it's not about the money.
Right.
So if you can get a guy that's going to be like, wow, this kid's coming in, he's got some skills, or this person, and he wants to help, because they might need help. They might have a big railing job where they need a bunch of pickets tended, or something like that.
Yep.
And some help, just offer to do it for free. Just find somebody that's near you with the shop and say, hey, I'd like to help because I want to learn some of this. Maybe they'll start paying you, and they would if they're a decent person, if you start making them some money. But don't ever look at the money or count it. Whatever they give you, be grateful. Second thing is, if you can afford to, go take a class from somebody. Find somebody in your area that's teaching blacksmithing. Join a blacksmithing group near you. And go and watch some demos. Maybe they'll have open forge. Try to find hammer-ins. And then, so try and get yourself in with some of that.
Right.
And keep your eye open around your neighborhood for blacksmithing tools and equipment. Okay?
Yep.
Like the best way to do it is go down to your local feed store, go to your 7-Eleven post-it bulletin board, go anywhere where there's public notifications, and make you a big wanted poster that says wanted with some cool, imagery on it of tongs, anvils, post vise, cone mandrels, all that stuff. Fair prices paid, and then go pay fair prices for it, but it's still going to be better than if you go online and try to find it. And that's a great way to get blacksmithing equipment, because a lot of people got this stuff laying around. Maybe they inherited their grandpa's farm. They don't even know what it is. They'd trip over an anvil and not know it was for making metalwork, So that's a great way to do that and, get yourself some tools at a fair price. Just put out the wanted posters.
Great advice. And speaking of tools, this guy's got a lot of them, and I think it's time to go do a little shop tour. And
I'm a bit of a junkie.
So, let's go take a look around, and it was a great class. I learned a ton, and
it was great having you here. It was,
it
was a pleasure.
So
for me.
worth it.
Yeah.
So worth it.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it.
You finally quit threatening me and actually came out here and did it.
Yep.
Yeah. So good to have you here.
Yeah, likewise. So let's do a little shop tour.
All right.
All right, so this is your biggest power hammer.
Yeah, this is a 330-pound wolf, and I do think it's the only one in the country. There is a lot of 165-pound wolves like that one, and there's a small handful of 145-pound wolves, and the Wolf Power Hammer Company did not make it. They're not selling these out of China anymore, and I don't care what people say about Chinese products. I think they're wonderful, because this thing helps me make a living, and I could afford it. And it's just been great to me. And I've had to do very little maintenance on it. I try to take good care of it and keep her lubed. and you know, just been really great to me. So I really, it's been a big part of me making a living as a blacksmith. And
what's the ram weight on it?
330 pounds.
330 pounds.
And you ran it.
Yeah.
Smooth, right?
Oh, it's so smooth. I was really impressed with how easy it is to feather it.
It's a great hammer.
Yeah.
Man. And it's got the press down mode.
Yep.
So when I was a blacksmith, I used to put a big old piece of 1.5-inch square bar in here, put it into the press down mode, and take my sledgehammer and fold it over right there, you know, and that would start the heel, the foot for the andiron leg, you know.
Very cool.
Yeah. Come to the 165, put in a 10-inning butchering tool, and even do an offset butcher for a 5/8 tenon, and I do all that, prepping it on the little hammer here.
Yep.
So
let's go take a look at the little hammer real quick.
Man, this thing's a beauty right here. And this is the first air hammer I ever got. And after having this one, then I was fortunate enough to get that one because my friends were actually bringing these into the country and selling them. Daryl Nelson and Terry Carson, which they're no longer doing. But yeah, they brought in a bunch of these, and a few of my friends got them. But when this hammer, when I bought it over 20 years ago, $8,500.
Wow.
And it's still I better knock upon some wood.
Yeah.
It's still running really good,
Yeah.
and just really taking good care of me, and I try to take good care of it.
Yeah.
Foundation is everything with these things. You know, they need a big cement footprint, and then hooking them up right and treating them right and keeping them lubed.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's a great tool.
Good. It's a great tool.
Yeah.
This is my newest addition right here. Over here, I got the rolling mill. A friend of mine was going to start manufacturing.
Yeah, this thing is
Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but I ended up with the very first chain model version of his rolling mill, and we used that, and what a blessing for getting metal flat and the equal thickness all the way so it could be surface ground.
This thing is a dream.
For running the billets through, man, this thing is just a beauty. And it comes with a twisting attachment, which I need to do some refurbishing on because I tried to go too big and kind of tore it up a little bit, but what a great thing this is. You know, this slides and, pulls the twist in. So lovely tool, my newest addition to the shop right here.
That thing is awesome.
This is one of my hydraulic presses. This was built by an old friend of mine who's no longer with us, Larry Langton. What a beautiful man he was. And just a great press. Unfortunately, the motor, it's a little loud, right? When you turn it on, it'll make you want to leave the room.
Yeah.
But it's really good, and I don't use it that much. Squishing billets, straightening billets, tightening stuff up, and ripping wrought iron. Yeah, that's my wrought iron ripper right there. So.
And what's the tonnage on that, you think?
30.
30 ton?
30 ton, yeah.
Okay.
This is actually, I bought 2 of these rams from Larry's dad, who's a big, heavy equipment guy.
That's a big ram.
Yeah, and it's off of like a big bucket mover, you know, with the double bucket things. And I think these were both the arms that lifted this great big bucket.
Yep.
And they're 30 ton each. And I was very fortunate to get
And you got 2 of those.
I got 2 of those. The other one's over here on this. Excuse my shop, you guys. We just got done with a 3-day workshop, and it's kind of messy. But this one I built before I got that one with a little bit of Larry's help and my friend Tom's help. And this thing is so quiet. You can barely hear it running when you turn it on. Remember?
This one's really quiet.
It's just so quiet, and it's the type of motor that it is. And I bet I don't have 1,500 into this whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was great because that one cost me quite a bit more.
Yeah.
Just the hydraulic system on that one was over 2,500.
Wow.
But tools, you gotta love it.
Yep.
Over here's my drilling station. Well, I got other drills, but this is where I do my main drilling and wire wheeling.
Yep.
Yeah, you gotta have that, right?
You gotta have the wire wheel.
Got a couple of band saws set up over here for the students to cut stuff when we're doing that. Got another jet band saw. This one's kind of...
That one's like dedicated mostly for cutting wood handles, right? I mean, you cut all kinds of stuff. But
mainly for scrap metal, things like that, just short, rough cuts.
Yeah.
I put the old blades on this one because the old blades don't cut the Damascus well. And as you know, the Damascus cutting bandsaws are both in the other room. But this is just like fabricating bandsaw, really.
Right.
And the old blades will cut the mild steel, no problem.
Yep.
They kind of quit cutting Damascus at a certain point.
Yep.
And I'm probably not the best at keeping them lubed because I don't like the lubricant. Everybody's like, why don't you use the lube? Well, I just don't use it.
Yeah.
It's a mess. It gets everywhere. I'm fine with it dry. I'll just buy new bandsaw blades.
And you've been using the induction forge?
This is my second one.
Okay.
Back in the day, like 25 years ago, when Grant Sarvers was alive, he used to bring these in and sell them. He was the first guy to bring them in the country to sell them.
Cool.
And I bought one off him for over $5,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were expensive,
Yeah.
right? But I was the first kid on the block to get one. And and it's that one right there.
Okay.
And it died on me.
Yep.
And when I bought this one to replace it, it was $1,500.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
prices come down. Do you make your own coils for them? Or?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure
Nice.
I do.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I got a whole drawer full of experimental coils.
Yeah.
I know it looks like a mess, but I try stuff, you know, and it's just a piece of copper tubing with some flared ends on it. So, I've tried some crazy stuff. This one I made for heat treating, and it worked pretty cool, right, when I was using it.
Yeah.
But I didn't really like what it did.
Yeah.
But with W2 and some, one thing it does do really nice is thermal cycling.
Okay.
Because I think the electric vibration of the molecules actually does something to the grain of the steel.
Okay.
But I've got some super high performing W2 blades from using this.
Right.
The problem is you got your hamon, and then above the hamon you got a line created by this thing, which is a secondary line in the steel, which I really don't care for.
Interesting.
But it's a great tool. Oh, and my technique I come up with melting the gold onto the iron. I kind of came up with that doing the induction
with
for
the
it.
induction.
Yeah,
Neat.
it's cool.
Wow.
Like the gold heart on my guy.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just a piece of pure iron, and it flows differently on different steels.
Very cool.
But I'll just dab it on with the torch.
Yep.
You can find it on my Instagram if you look real hard. There's a little tutorial on it, but it's kind of hidden in my feed. But showing me putting it on there and then heating it up and melting it on there. And the wrought iron does it differently, but it flows the best on pure iron.
Okay.
And that's because the pure iron doesn't have much carbon in it, so it doesn't set up any carbon barriers. And the gold is allowed to just, and the tiniest piece will cover the largest area. It's amazing. Gold's an amazing material.
That is amazing.
So, yeah.
And then we don't have to go out there, but out that door, around the corner, let's just go peek out there.
Okay,
we'll
sure.
peek at it. There's an entire shed that is dedicated just to grinding the mill scale off of the billets.
Yep, that's the billet grinding shed because it's what I do is dust management. That's my profession.
Yep.
Yeah, everything's about managing all this dust we create.
That's smart. And so there's just
Well, you
billet
saw it. It's like
area.
this deep in the back. Dust.
Yep.
Yeah. This is a stone washer.
Nice tumbler stone washer.
Yeah, tumbler stone washer for folder blades and stuff.
Yep. Got the belt collection.
And then back over here, this is that famous gluing station. And unfortunately, it's all messy because Ryan is very messy when he's gluing. He throws stuff everywhere. It's like kind of crazy.
Yep.
And look what he did. So we'll start cleaning this up soon. But yeah, this is the remnants of our frenzy of knife making. And it was a frenzy.
Yep.
Yeah. And then over here's my milling machine, which I run off of a VFD because it's 220 power. And a lot of my machines are 220 three-phase, which this is. And I have a phase converter to run the bigger equipment. But this one only has a 1.5 horse motor, three-phase. So it actually runs off the same VFD that will run your grinder, which makes life easy because I don't have to light the phase converter every time I want to mill something. I can just use this.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then one of my best bets here is this old South Bend lathe.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and I got that years ago from my friend Larry Langton for $500 and taught myself how to use it because I'm not a machinist, but I do machining.
That's neat.
You know, there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
So I've learned how to make my finials, and I can use it for tapping holes, and my knife parts I can make on here. And when I was blacksmithing, I did a few little blacksmithing projects with it, but mainly it's knife parts now. It's finials and things like that. Yeah.
Then you got your heat treat ovens behind you.
Heat treat ovens, yeah. I've got a Knife Dogs, I believe is made by, Paragon.
Paragon.
I think Paragon makes that one, and then there's Even Heat. And I just got some new parts for this one because it finally had a little hiccup, and it was doing something wrong. And it's a capacitor inside here that I'm replacing, which will make it start running right.
Okay.
When you turn your oven on, you hear it go click, click. click, click. That's the thing that went bad.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just a simple part, and I'll pull it apart and I'll put it back in there, and hopefully that's going to solve the problem. But just in case, I bought a new one of these too, the thermocoupler that drops in there, because it's either one of those two.
Yep.
So hopefully I get that back on track. But fortunately, I had the knife dogs, and that's what we used.
Nice.
Yeah. It's better to have two because you can heat treat in one, and before it cools down, you can be tempering them.
Right.
That's normally what I did.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can take a little peek in there, but that's my grinding stations.
Grinding room. How many grinders you got, Dave?
I don't know, 10.
A lot.
Yeah,
More than most people.
Well, I had a school in Seattle, so these are all from the school. I don't even think you can buy these anymore.
So this one,
yeah,
you use for profiling mainly.
Yes, profiling, and you got a little small wheel attachment up here.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great little grinder. I don't think they're manufacturing them anymore, but it was very handy for profiling and kitchen knives. I really love doing the kitchen knife blades because you can see the relationship between the kitchen knife handle and the blade geometry when you're cutting in the rock and what you're doing. So this is really nice to be able to look at it that way instead of having to do it like this. Yeah, of course, the TW90s that I have that allows you to do that as well, but it's a little more comfortable here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's
pretty
I've
much
got a small surface grinder over there for the folder blades and a big surface grinder for the billets.
Yep.
And man, I wish it was cleaner in here, guys. But Ryan trashed my place over the last 3 days, so I'll have to clean it up.
Well, thanks, Dave. That was a nice tour, and
you're welcome.
Please like and subscribe. We'll do more shop tours of more amazing makers like Dave.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure.
See you on the next one.
Yep.